Well, ladies and gentlemen, recently Hillary Clinton was interviewed, and within the interview, she kind of let the cat out of the bag on illegal immigration, the declining birth rates, where she says, yeah, we have bad birth rates. Let's just let it happen and not do anything about it. We'll just be able to replace the declining birth rate with the immigration because that's always what it's been. And now they say, yeah, that's what it is. But they say now it's not done on purpose, but that is the goal. And so we're going to react to this. And this is just, it's super non combative. This is just the pure Democrat propaganda. It's not like this is a debate or anything. She's trying to go against Vance and Trump's plan to give $5,000 to people, which, by the way, the Democrats proposed the plan to give $6,000. I mean, we're trying to fix the birth rate, but we know it's a lot deeper than giving people, whether you want to call it child tax credit, whatever it is. It's a cultural problem, and it's happening in the majority of first world countries. The question is, do you supplement the declining birth rate with the immigrants, which will certainly change the demographics of your country significantly? We've seen it happen with the United States. In 1960, we were 90% white. Now we are 61% white. That is a crazy shift. That's why I always say, people say, oh, the United States, they say there's white supremacy. Well, we must be the worst white supremacists in history, considering our demographics shift from 1960. But then they still say it. So let's see what Hillary Clinton has to say here about this. And a bunch of this is just complete lies, especially at the beginning. But we'll go ahead and play this, and I'll just probably sit through it, or maybe react to it halfway through and then play the rest.
As I posted the other day, this very blatant effort to basically send a message, most exemplified by Vance and Musk and others, that, what we really need from you women are more children. And what that really means is you should go back to doing what you were born to do, which is to produce more children. And they're talking about, cash benefits for the more children you have. This has been tried, by the way, in other countries, and it has not worked. Or medals if you have 6 children, while they're contemplating cutting Medicaid, while they have no interest in paid family leave or funding quality child care. They're cutting Head Start. I mean, you go down the list of all the programs that support child rearing and the care of children and create, some safety net for women who are in the workforce, the formal workforce, as well as, raising children. So this is another performance about concerns they allegedly have for family life. But if you had read the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, despite Trump saying he knew nothing about it, if you had read it, it's all in there. It's all in there. Return to the family, the nuclear family, return to being a Christian nation, return.
Wow, this is super rad. Like, it's just insane that this is even like, is this supposed to be a scary thing? The country was founded by white Protestant Christians. Oh my goodness, they want to go back to their foundation. They're so evil. Like, this is like fear-mongering. They want to be Christian again. The country. Heaven forbid. This is how insane these people have gotten. Like, this is like, oh my God, they want to be Christian. It's the scariest thing. But I'll react to all of this. I'm just going to play this.
To, producing a lot of children, which is sort of odd because the people who produce the most children in our country are immigrants, and they want to deport them. So none of this adds up. But.
She's saying that illegal immigrants produce the most children. I mean, maybe anchor babies, things like that. I don't know. She's saying, because Trump he's not deporting legal immigrants. He's deporting the illegals. It gets a little odd in terms of just the amount of people they let in on temporary asylum claims. That's another issue for another day. But I mean, I don't know what she's saying there. She's saying that, oh, you're deporting the illegals. The illegals are the ones having all the kids. Yeah, that sounds like a very healthy society. The reason our birth rate is going to go back up is because of illegal immigrants having anchor babies. Is that what she's insinuating? But these people, all of their thoughts are just convoluted. Like, there's no actual worldview here other than Republicans well, she did say that, oh, they're cutting everything. That's the other thing with entitlements. It's like, we can't win no matter what we do. We're not cutting entitlements. If we did, we would at least cut into a little bit the deficit. We're not cutting into the deficit at all, and we're not cutting the entitlements, but they still get to say we're cutting the entitlements. Has Doge cut anything from the entitlements at all of value? They haven't touched them. They haven't touched Medicare or Medicaid. And they're like, oh, but they're looking at it. Well, yeah, if you look at Social Security, you have to look at it. And at some point, they'll admit it. But now it's all the fear-mongering about, oh, they're cutting all the entitlements. No, we're going to have another year of a crazy deficit because we're not touching the entitlements. But they get to say we're cutting the entitlements. Where? Can you show the entitlement that's being cut? There needs to be some changes. I mean, they admit, if you look at the statistics, in Medicare alone, there's $200 billion in fraud, they say. Medicare alone. So, I mean, there's serious fraud there, but you can't look at it because they just say they're cutting it. And then he talks about, oh, they're not doing anything in terms of, I guess, cutting some type of services, when in reality, you look at the Trump tax cuts in 2017, those were amazing for the middle class. Now you've got Trump, more tax cuts for the middle class, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. That's going to help middle class families. And just the Republicans in general, they always try and say, well, they create more debt. Yeah, because they cut taxes for middle class people. So the government's not going to bring in as much revenue. So see, it's just like, I mean, and it's just this incoherent babble. So her future is like, well, our birth rate is going down, but Hillary can solve it. It's through illegal immigrants having anchor babies. That's what she's proposing. And saying that, I guess women shouldn't be having, it's a feminist stuff. Go have your own career. You could have an entire cubicle, but you're a boss bitch. You get a cubicle. Oh my goodness. It's like these women think they're going to be Steve Jobs. They work at a cubicle and their boss is a man. Now there it is. The power of womanhood in the 21st century. Let's just see what this is, though.
One of the reasons why our economy did so much better than comparable advanced economies across the world.
And this is another thing that these feminists always say now is the GDP. These are like the biggest capitalists on earth, these feminists. They're talking about GDP going up and everything like that. But these feminists say how bad the United States is, but then they talk about our GDP. Well, if your number one best metric is GDP, then shouldn't you call our country the best? We have the number one GDP by $10 trillion. But they still say our country's terrible somehow. That was based around and built, I mean, it was based around a patriarchal system. And that's how it was originally built. They're like, women contribute to the GDP. Well, then isn't the United States like the best country ever if you really believe you're obsessed with GDP? If that's the only thing you care about. But now it's this different thing with the H-1Bs as well. Because people are like, it's like what Ramaswamy says, oh, the GDP, we need these people. Now you're starting to see some conservatives say, well, maybe there needs to be a sacrifice, a little bit of the GDP for cultural preservation. So there's a little argument going on there as well.
World is because we actually had a replenishment, because we had a lot of immigrants, legally and undocumented,
replenishment, yep.
Who had a larger than normal, by American standards, family. So this is just another one of their,
And she is right. That's a reason why we've been able to keep the birth rate up, because of immigrants. And she says, well, illegal immigrants having kids, and also the legal ones. You look at our immigration rate. I mean, you can compare us to Japan's a much smaller country, but just in terms of our immigration practice versus our native birth rate, because the birth rates are going down in all the first world countries. I mean, some places it's worth, like South Korea, it's horrible. But you can either choose what the United States has picked, which is, like she said replenish. She didn't want to say the word replace, but that's what it is. Because if the native birth rates are going down, then you replace it with the immigrants coming in to keep the population up. That's what it is. And so that's what we've picked. Japan and some of these other Eastern cultures, they say, no, we'll just decline in terms of our population. And they're going to run into a problem to where they probably, I mean, unless they can somehow get their birth rate back up, it's a big issue. And these things, it takes time to materialize. It doesn't happen overnight. That's why it's hard to fearmonger something like this in terms of the birth rate being a problem. But I will say, she also mentioned Musk at the beginning of this clip. And Musk, he's been important in terms of really fixing the conversation, because you had all of the globalist talking points that were infecting, especially young liberals. All these kids are just brainwashed. They have like 70 IQ. remember, like back in 2015, 2016, they'd say, oh, we're so overpopulated. We shouldn't have any more kids. We're so overpopulated. And it's a complete lie. And Musk was one of the first ones to say, look at the total land area of the earth relative to humans. The earth is empty. And now people are starting to admit that. And now it's not a big thing anymore with overpopulation. I mean, certain cities are overpopulated, sure. But in general, it's not even close. Especially the United States being overpopulated. I mean, again, small cities, yes. But the country in general, no. And now it seems like that's gone away to where people have stopped that talking point of, it's overpopulated, you can't have kids. Because that was something that was big like a decade ago.
Make America great again by returning to the lifestyles and the economic arrangements of not just the 1950s. I mean, let's keep going back as far as we can, and see what happens.
Well, I don't know. She's insinuating, they're racist. They want to return to, Jim Crow laws, things like that. That's probably what she was trying to insinuate there, but didn't want to say it. So that's Hillary Clinton saying that, well, she's like mad that they're trying to spur birth rate growth in the United States. And she comes off just extremely bitter, and she says, well, the reason that this is the Democrats' grand plan. We don't need to have any more kids. We'll just replenish, like she said, the word replenish. We will replenish the population with not only legal, but also illegal immigrants having kids in the United States. This is what they want. I mean, who can look at this and say, I understand they're a major party. I always tell people always ask me, how do people support this stuff? But I mean, they are a major party, and it's just insane. How do you not think that we are going to be, you have to understand, the people that we're importing, if this continues and this is your strategy as a political leader, now obviously she lost in 2016, but I mean, this is the whole idea of it with the Democrats. This country, in terms of livability, is going to go down. We've seen what's happened in major cities with crime. When you've got, look, I'm not going to get into it because it's like, but the point is, it's a big issue, and this type of thinking is just completely ass backwards for the United States, and really for any Western country. The Eastern countries don't really deal with it because you look at look at China. You want to talk about racism? Go look at China and their view of immigrants, and I think they're 99.9% Chinese. Their country is. Oh my goodness. How is that possible? How are they surviving? But it's just, it's insane when you look at someone like that saying that, and now just openly admitting it. Just, I mean, that's what it is, but it's almost like she thinks that's good for her party. Like, this is the point. How dare Donald Trump try and pay Americans to have, but this is the thing. It's like they constantly bitch and complain about, well, it costs too much money. The housing is too high. All of this stuff, and you try and put in certain things to help. And look, the $5,000, it's a cultural thing. And again, it's not just the United States. So there has to be a number of steps taken over decades to try and fix this problem. It's not $5,000, but the $5,000 is just a point to where she tries to use that and be like, well, this is stupid because we can just import. I guess her grand plan is to import illegal immigrants into the country, and they'll have all the kids, and that's how the United States is going to survive and keep our population up. I mean, that's what she's insinuating. So, but guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.